Hello, how are you? I hope you are good. Today I have one more book that I recently finished on Audible, and this is a French classic, and it was a random reading. Actually, I was looking for a book to read on Audible, and my options were of course classic only. And then I came across this book that is Germinal by Emile Zola. Emile Zola he was a French author, and he had published uh, almost 20 to 30 novels before his death. So when I saw this book, and especially the poster on Audible, and when I read the story in introduction or basic summary, I really got interested and decided to read this book. This book is basically about the suffering of mine workers and their struggle for life. And this book is in reality a struggle between the capitalists and the working class. So it is also based on a true story, on a true minor strike which happened in 1884 I guess, and the very next year in 1885, when Zola visited the site and he stayed there for almost 6 months, then he decided to write this book. So that is why this book has historical significance, and it is one of the best French classic books. As I have already said, this book is the struggle of French mine workers and their struggle. And the book starts with our hero, whose name is Etienne. He has been traveling through many places and trying to find some work, but there is no work. There is massive unemployment and there is very less work. So at last he comes to this town. The name of this town in Modsu. This is a French name, sorry for my pronunciation. And there is this pit, this mine, La Verre. So this is the name of the mine, and again it is in French. So he goes there, he finds some person there, and he tries to talk to them, and he asks them if there is any work, and they just shrug their shoulders. He at once loses his hope, but he still persists, and after some wandering he enters the mine, and he's around the mine, and he talks to someone whether there is any work. And someone says you have to wait for the mine manager, the main, not main, but the particular site mine manager. His name is Donce. It is a French name again. So he will tell him whether there is any work or not. So he waits for him. And meanwhile, Mahu, who has been working in the mine for 40 years, he comes to the mine with his daughter and other people, including his son Jacques, and his name of the daughter is Catherine, who is the heroine of this novel in my opinion. And he comes there, and there he notices that one person is missing, and that person's place should be replaced by someone else. And fortunately Etienne is there, and Etienne just somehow through the stroke of luck gets this place, and he is immediately hired. So on his first day, the work is extremely difficult, as I think he is doing this work for the first time in his life as a coal mine worker. So he doesn't know the ABC of this kind of work, so he makes many mistakes in this, and people laugh at him because he's very slow at this stage, as it is obvious that on first day people don't know how to do their task. So he also is a novice at this stage. Meanwhile, there is a break. He slowly learns his work, and Catherine and Etienne talks during this break. Etienne really starts liking this girl, and Catherine also finds Etienne very interesting. And when Catherine shares her sandwich with Etienne, at first Etienne denies, and then he agrees to eat the sandwich because he is also hungry, and he, I think, hasn't had anything for a day or two. So this way they have their first conversation, and Etienne really it's strange that he really wants to kiss Catherine on their first meeting, but immediately and abruptly, Shawwal, who is Catherine's lover, he comes forward and kisses Catherine brutally, just crushes her lips badly, figuratively. I'm sorry, it happens. So this goes on, okay, and then they come back to work. Etienne really feels very bad because of this incident, because Catherine had told him that she didn't have any boyfriend when they were having a conversation. So this way the day comes to an end. Etienne works really hard, and at the end of the work, so let me tell you the brief story about the rates. So when they work, rates are set by the company, and they work with coal and timber, and they are paid by their tubs and the quality of the material they have collected. So at the end of the day, they come to know that management has rejected 2 of their tubs and they will get less money. On hearing that, Shawwal, who is Catherine's lover and who has a kind of jealousy in his heart for Etienne, he starts scolding Etienne on his slow work or his low quality of work, but Etienne remains silent. He at once decides that when he comes out of the pit, he decides that he will not go back to the pit and he will leave this work. So at the end of the day, they go to a restaurant. The name of the restaurant is L'Avantage. It's a French name, and there Mahu convinces the owner of the restaurant to provide a lodging to Etienne and provide him some advance as well, if it is possible. At first he denies, and then he agrees for this, and Etienne is almost 100% sure that he will leave this place immediately, because the working conditions was extremely bad and he just didn't like his work. But he somehow convinces him that he will work there, and this way he manages and convinces himself to work in the pit. And 6 months have been passed now, and he has emerged a very successful worker. He has gained some fame as well, and he has attained some good reputation among his peers because of his education, as he was a railway worker previously and he has good education. Meanwhile, he also convinces his co-workers that they should establish a provident fund as well, because mines conditions are not good and management is also not good. They always tries to suppress mine workers. So in case of some immediate action, they will have some fund in emergency in the form of provident fund. During that period, he also spreads revolutionary ideas. He is a fan of Karl Marx, so he has been following and reading his work and trying to implement Karl Marx work and spreading his ideology among coal mine workers. So then, as the conditions is worsening day by day, management is also suppressing workers by reducing wages, and there are so many forms of you can say exploitations by which management crushes mine workers. So they after a period of intense negotiation, they decide to declare a strike. So this novel is mostly and basically about this strike and how this strike turns different forms throughout its progress. So there are negotiations as well between the management and the mine workers. Mine workers are adamant that they want to get some raise in their basic salary, but the manager of the mine, he decides that he is in no position to raise anything, because owners are not in a position to hike their salary. So there is a stalemate and strike persists. So this strike also spreads to other places as well, and there are many people on strike now. So this strike takes a violent form after at some point of time, and at the end there is a firing as well by the police officers when the strikers start to attack the mine. So in this way most of the people are died. So Etienne loses his credibility. He was barely saved by this firing, and he survives. So now people they don't respect him because many family members have lost their family members, and this kind of thing goes on, and the struggle is extremely hard. It is mostly about the torture that the mine workers faces in their everyday life, and you would believe that they struggle for even a single piece of bread. They don't even have a crust of bread, and there is a grocery store owner, and he usually harasses people. He asks people to send their daughters if they really want to buy something, and he sexually exploits them, and people are really very angry. And during the strike he is the one who gets killed by the agitation of strikers. When strikers were angry, he ran away, and he went to his roof, and from his roof he fell down and hit the stone, and his skull broke open. So he immediately died there, and this is his ending. So I think he deserves this kind of end in this novel because he has abused many families, and he doesn't have a kind heart in this novel. He lends money, of course, but he charges interest as well, and he abuses and scolds people and treats them very badly. He's the only person apart from Cecile, who is the daughter of Grigory, who is the owner of mine. Cecile also dies in the end. I won't tell you how, but she also had a brutal death at the hand of a coal mine worker, and in a very mysterious circumstances. So I think the author of this novel has assimilated so many different aspects of social system and personal circumstances and their living conditions into this novel, and showed a picture that clearly depicts the life of coal mine workers in late 19th century. And yeah, and there are so many different characters like Mahu. As I have already told you, he is a coal mine worker. He is an experienced worker. He has 6 or 7 children. So they live in poverty. They always ask for bread or potatoes or some other eatables because they barely have anything to eat, and they just manage to eat almost salads or just some soups. That's it. So Etienne is the leader of this strike, and he is the main figure of this novel. And in the end, there is one very interesting scene when there is a man-made blast in the man-made disaster, I should say, in the pit, when workers are down in the pit and there is sudden water leakage and the whole pit fills with the water from the deep earth, and Etienne and Catherine and Cheval, they get stuck, and at that time Etienne kills Shavak. He has previously avoided killing him on 2 or 3 occasions, but this time he kills Cheval because he was treating Catherine badly. Etienne couldn't prevent this disaster, and he just killed him. So the Cheval had to be killed in this novel in this way. So at the end, now this is I think fifth or sixth day. They are stuck in the pit deep down below in the earth, almost 300 or 400 feet deep. I'm not exactly sure. They both are there, they are talking, and the corpse of Shaval is also swimming here and there, disturbing them. And they haven't had anything. They don't have even a single crust of bread to eat. So they just spend their final days in talking, and they are losing their senses. As you can imagine that earlier their lamp was burning, now they don't have any lamp and there is complete darkness. You can imagine that they are living in a condition with their eyes closed, because there is complete darkness and there is no sun. In the end, Catherine also dies because of starvation. Maybe this is one of the reasons, or hopelessness. But Etienne survives this disaster and he is saved by the mine workers as they are doing the rescue work. So as you can see, there are so many things going on in this novel, and I will say that from my opinion, I will give 5 out of 5 in terms of rating to this novel, because this novel has made me aware of the mine workers' conditions and how they managed to survive, and they were living barely just on a crust of bread, on a piece of loaf, and that's it. So because of this, they wanted to have a better standard of living. They wanted to have a good lifestyle. So this was the reason of their strike, but management didn't agree with them. So I hope more you will come to know about this novel if you pick it up, and suddenly I expect you will check it out yourself. And there are certain things to know before you pick this novel up, like you should have a little understanding of French language, like the masculine noun and the feminine noun, because there are French names. I hope just a little bit understanding will work. Secondly, coal mine terminology is essential, but you will find this terminology at the end of this book if you have this book. So at the end of this book you will find the terminology is attached, and it will solve your problem to some extent. As you can see some words here, and there are other words as well. And yeah, I find the part that when they don't have anything to eat, when there is not a single piece of any eatable thing in their house, and how they are consoling each other. They have nothing, and day by day they are selling everything. They have sold their utensils, paintings, and other artifacts, or their clothes as well. Etienne also sells everything. He sells his trouser, his shoes, and everything that he can sell. So I think this is quite sad in this novel, and you will, I expect, cry a lot if you have a kind and gentle heart to see the circumstances in which they are living. And yeah, I think this is enough that I should say about this novel. And there are so many characters that I want to talk about, but that can make my video too long. And with that, give me your permission and I will be back with some more novels and with good reviews and some more characters of novels to talk about. Have a good time. Take care.